Hi, I'm Rob Matthews from Transport Energy. I'm here with Tom from RV Installations, he's the owner, and Dan, the chief technician. And we've popped down to have a chat today about some of the systems that they're doing. They work with us closely, they use our batteries, they're specialists in power management, and I'll let them tell you a little bit about what it is that they do.
Yeah, as you said, we specialise in power management, upgrades on motorhomes, caravans, occasionally expedition vehicles. We essentially try and make stuff run when it's not supposed to. So if you've got big AC demands, air conditioning systems, for example, and you want to run them when you're not plugged into the mains, we can achieve that.
On this particular beautiful van that we're in, that you've done a really big sort of conversion on, if you want to tell us what you've sort of fitted and what that's going to let the customer do and some of the equipment.
Yeah, well, we started off with 4 transporter batteries. That will give us a potential 400 amps of usable power. To achieve that, we fitted a 5 kVA Victron Quattro, which has got a 5 kVA inverter and a 200 amp charger.
All built in?
All built in one box.
Unit.
We have put a split charge system, upgraded that. So it's 150 amp alternator, should be able to get about 120 amps from that alternator for when they're driving, and 830 watts of solar.
That's a lot of solar. And I think one of the things with the lithiums, you can use 100 amps of a 100 amp battery. You know, if you need to, you can get the full voltage, which is important to maintain the microwave TVs. One of the things we get with people a lot is, and you'll probably experience it, is with a lead battery, the power curve, it drops from day one and sort of 3/4 of a full battery on voltage, but it won't deliver more than 12 volts to run the equipment.
Yeah.
Which obviously you've mastered this with your techniques and...
Yeah. Yeah, the lead battery, if you try and draw a lot of power off it, then you're going to lose voltage. And as soon as you lose voltage, you get a higher ampage, again, which compounds the problem, and then everything stops working.
Yeah.
Essentially, inverters fail, and systems then don't work, and you don't get that with lithium.
Especially with air conditioning. In a country like Australia, or anywhere you want to use air conditioning, lots of people know that they can only use it for a very short period of time, or they need to be plugged into shore power on a campsite. So we've worked out ways that we can run these off-grid from batteries using things like solar. You're going to use the aircon in the heat, which is a great time for solar yield.
And I think even on some of the foreign campsites where they're overloaded, if you was to plug this in, you'd probably trip some of the sites.
You would.
So this is another way to get around that. Not with this system. This is what I'm saying. This is another benefit. So when you are on site, you can still utilise high power demand, but without tripping everything off and upsetting the whole site.
Yeah. So if you're on a site that hasn't got enough power for what we're drawing from, the Victron Quattro unit is a grid assist.
Yeah.
So it draws some from the batteries and some from the grid.
Yeah.
So if there's any shortfall, the batteries will make up for it.
So you can continue to run appliances you want to run normally. Obviously, that is within reason. You've only got 400 amp of batteries, and at the end of the day, that will run out. But the solar, putting power back into the system, will compensate. Not 100%, but I have got customers that has compensated over 100% running aircons just from their solar systems.
Well, obviously, one of the other things just to touch on with solar is that lithium is 30% plus more receptive to solar from a charge because it's easier to charge. There's less resistance or virtually no resistance, whereas charging lead, it is a harder vehicle to charge, if you like. Lithium is far easier to charge. It takes a charge straight away and you can fast it charge without any damage.
To use your batteries either when you're driving or when you get to the campsite, then you need a big split charge.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, however good solar is, fossil fuels are still better. So your alternator, you've essentially got a charging system built into the motorhome already. So you may as well use it. And the wire sizing, which Dan will demonstrate now, that is a common size of wire that you would normally find in a motorhome.
Yep.
Maybe 2 of those, but not a lot more than that. We tend minimum upgrade, we go to 25 square mil. A bigger upgrade, we go to 40, which is that size. And then we double that up to get it to 80. And if you really want to go to town, which is what we've used on this one, 120.
Yeah.
So if you look at the difference in size,
Yeah.
it's all about resistance. You're going to have very minimal resistance. That's 600 amp cable.
Yeah.
The power just can't get through it.
No.
So it's never going to work efficiently.
It's a smaller vessel, isn't it, to transfer
absolutely.
power?
Yeah.
And heat, and it will get hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, losing efficiency of power.
So if we've got a 150 amp alternator, essentially we can probably drag 120 amps out of that, because the vehicle needs about 30 amps to run. So we have to rate that cable for 130 amp draw.
Yep.
And that's quite big. And we fired this one up, and we know that it's actually giving us 130 amps.
You check that, yeah.
Yeah. And the cable sizing is adequate to actually take that with no heat issues.
That's pretty good. I mean, for the average person who'd have 1 to 2 of those on a normal, which would be the equivalent to 4 to 6 lead batteries, which would be more than ample for most applications. And that's one of the beauties of these, which we haven't mentioned, is not only if you up your batteries, that these only weigh 13 kg.
Yeah.
And when we weighed a couple, we're averaging between 23 and 30 kilos for the average lead AGM battery. So, and one of these will replace easily 2 lead. So the calculation is, if you're payload conscious, which a lot of people are, they're limited to 3.5 tons, adding extra batteries isn't always an option because they're almost up on their payload. So actually adding one of these can increase your payload and more than double your power. So it's a bit of a double whammy really with what you can get. There's a lot of misinformation about fitting lithium and what you need to fit, what you don't, chargers, DC to DC chargers, are they necessary? So we've had some, obviously ours is an American-made battery. Our manufacturer came over and they fitted them in the thousands in the USA. Dragonfly manufacturer, and he told me that, you know, there's a big interest from people who want to sell DC to DC chargers, telling you that you need them, and that generally if you haven't got a smart alternator, there isn't a need. You confirm that. Applejack Engineering, who are really good tech guys who you work with as well, have told us that, and if you can sort of elaborate on that from a technical point.
Smart alternators are the bane of our lives, basically. They are fitted to Mercedes Sprinters, which is the other common motorhome. Peugeot Boxers and Fiat Ducatos don't have smart alternators. Well, they didn't. They've now, 2020 models have now got a smart alternator. So up until now, on Fiat and Peugeot models, we've been able just to put a simple voltage-sensitive switching relay in, which is, on this vehicle we fit a 240 amp one. That's going back again to, because the batteries will take everything, I didn't want to put the smaller 120 amp one in. And it works absolutely perfectly.
Obviously, you know, you use our lithium, you've looked around at others. You know, ours is, you know, sort of the only fully Intertech tested, genuinely CE approved and American made battery, lithium deep cycle battery that's available. And the sort of biggest point we've got, the money is in the BMS that's built into the top of this, which is basically a brain that can regulate itself, turn it off if it's too hot, too cold, too much charge or not enough charge. It basically protects you and your investment. It's a bit like an RCD trip switch in a house that will switch off. It will, you know, if you were to put a spanner across the 2 terminals, it will switch itself off. It won't catch fire, or like a normal lead battery. It's actually safer than a lead battery.
And I think the warranty that you offer on the battery is
10 years. Industry first. No one else does that.
And I think that sort of shows the quality and what you're paying for. When you actually get a good lithium battery.
Underneath this bench seat, we have the bulk of the power management system for this vehicle. At the bottom of this well was the standard 2 batteries supplied by the manufacturer. We have put 4 transporter lithium batteries under here, as well as all this nice blue Victron kit. We've got the 5 kVA Quattro, which is a charger and inverter and uninterrupted power supply all in one. We then have these 2 solar charge controllers, the smaller one for a flexible panel over the round Luton space of the van, and the bigger charge controller here for a bank of 15 Victron solar panels on the main roof of the vehicle. We've adapted the cupboard to fit these. We've fitted extra brackets to make sure everything is secure. Most of the wiring is hidden away underneath this, but we can have a look from the outside locker. As we've used a lot of locker space, what we've also done is the batteries are under here, which was blocking access to the customer's original storage space. So we've actually cut an access hatch in here to make sure that we can fit this system but still have access for the customer to store things in the subfloor. So here we've got some draft schematics of the system for the handover to the customer of just what we've installed here. So here's a basic diagram of the AC, the alternating shore current coming into the vehicle through the existing motorhome control box. We've got a loose layout of the solar. So these are the 15 rigid solar panels that we've got on the roof. We also have a flexi panel up there as well. And then we've got a general schematic showing all the DC, the banking of the batteries, solar controllers and the Quattro charger inverter. So here we've got access through the outside locker into the battery cupboard and the power management system. So this is the other side of the Quattro that we've just seen. This shelf used to continue right across there, so we've had to modify that, add a leg to it in order to mount some of the components. Most of the wiring is hidden down here out of the way of the main storage area. So if we take a look in here, you can see the big fuse holders and the much larger gauge cables we've had to use to make the system work. These cables here are up to the existing Sargent box. These were charging the previous batteries. Now we've got this charging the current transporter lithium batteries. Fuses are easy to get to if there is ever a problem. Split charge here, Quattro fuse here, and the batteries are fused to isolate them if there's a problem as well.
Other things that, again, I don't think people realise is with the lithium is it's not just the weight, the ability to charge and deliver a flat power, is that you would actually need 20 lead batteries on charge cycles to be equivalent to one of these. The average lead battery has got around 250 to 400 cycles depending on the price you pay for your lead battery. This is guaranteed for 5,000 cycles. So we have a bit of information that's also on the website that you can see what you would need and what it would cost if you actually bought a lithium. It's guaranteed for 10 years and life expectancy of 15. You would actually need 20 lead batteries to equal one of these. So when you put it in perspective, which we don't often get a chance to do, people just look at the price and look at a lead price, but there's a real big difference there.
I get asked quite a lot, has the price of lithium come down yet? And I said it's cheap as chips anyway. If you actually do that comparison,
yeah,
lithium battery is a fraction of the cost of a normal battery.
If you want to look at the battery, Transport Your Energy website, there's information there as well. Our installations are on our partners page. As
Tom mentioned earlier, if you've got an idea for your motorhome or caravan and people are telling you can't be done, please speak to us first.
Absolutely.
Thanks guys, really appreciate it showing us around.
Thank you very much.